You know, I've had great experiences early in the morning here on Bacharach and fishing topwater as well. But at a certain point of the day, which is about now, I'm going to go to other lures. The topwater pattern was productive. We're going to see what happens with in this case, a jig pattern. And I'm going to throw the jig out there and I'm going to count it down. I'm going to count it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, that means it's about 15 feet deep. That's pretty shallow. So that's a shallow bar. Okay, I'm going to anchor this rod to my stomach with this big cushion button. I'm just kind of trying to drag the jig. Boy, I have braided line and a 25-pound leader, and I have a lot of sensitivity in this rod, and I'm ready to set the hook. And as soon as I feel a bite, I'm going to slam it to them. So it's a matter of getting set up on a jig. It's kind of like worm fishing, but you don't let them run with it. When they hit the jig, you better take them, and take them hard. And I got big heavy tackle. One of the things about coming down to a Mexican lake, of course, we don't have an option of having our own boat and our own electronics, and we're kind of a little blind. But by counting down, for example, that's a good way to kind of make up for a little bit of the loss of electronics. You can find out a little bit about where the drop-offs are and approximate how deep the water might be. I threw then 11 seconds on that drop, and it was probably in the 15 or 18 or 20 foot range. And then when I 4-second drop, it was probably 7 or 8 feet deep. So I know there's a drop off between there and there. So the drop off, I think in my mind, if I were just to think about it, the correct spot might be about there. That's kind of in between the 4-second and the 11-second. There's a happy medium there. You know, there's points and bars and drop offs all over the place, and that's really what we're trying to find. So from the bank, you can do the same thing. You can count down just as easily as you can from a boat. And it sure gives you an idea about where the deep water is and about where the drop-offs are. And that's really where you want to concentrate your efforts. The difference of depth and the drop-offs and steeper banks and where the flats end and drop off, that's kind of where you're going to find fish. It's not an exact science, no, it's not as good as electronics, but it does work. A little bit. No, it's not real big, but it's a bass. Now, here was the deal about fishing a heavy jig. I was coming off that bank and I felt contact with the bottom. I was making contact the whole time with the bottom. But then all of a sudden, it just went no contact. I felt nothing. And that's because he had hit the jig and started swimming out with it. You see that old mark right here? That means that somebody else, some other fisherman had caught that fish. Of course, this is kind of a catch and release lake. And it's a good testimony that it's working. Hey, that fish is alive and well. I'm gonna let him go. Here we go. Okay. Now, I'm gonna show you my setup real quick. This is a 1 ounce heavy duty jig with 25-pound fluorocarbon leader tied to a 65-pound braid. Now, I'm after big fish, okay? And for a trailer, what I'm gonna use is this Cowboy series by Yamamoto. Now, let me tell you what this does. You know, Yamamoto has always had soft plastic lures, like the Cinco's, very soft plastic. They make this for the flipping market, and they take this Cowboy and they make it with hard plastic. So this isn't the soft plastic. This stays on the hook really well. And this is what you want in heavy cover for flipping. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna come through the actual body of the hook, and this really stays on good. It's real heavy duty plastic. Come around, stick it right up on the top. Oh, kind of got it crooked. There, straight. And that's the Cowboy, ready to go. Now again, that was kind of a cool deal because what happened, I was making contact with the rock. I could feel the jig on the rock. I'd feel the jig on the rock. I'd pull it, I'd feel the jig on the rock. I was kind of crawling it on the rock, okay? I was just crawling it along. I just felt the jig the whole time. I felt it crawling on the rock. Then all of a sudden I felt nothing because he had hit the lure and swam out, and I didn't have contact with the bottom anymore. And when you feel nothing, set the hook. That's what I did. Yeah, you know, with braid, it's just easier to set the hook. I mean, let's face it, braid is this is 65-pound braid, so it doesn't take as much power and pressure and rod to set the hook on a braided with the braid, because it's just no stretch, a lot of sensitivity, and if you keep that rod at that level, I'm ready to do business with that fish. So I don't have it too high. Now when I'm worm fishing, a lot of times I'll get my rod high like this. And with worm fishing, when I feel the strike, then I have time to drop it and go and give it a couple seconds. But with the jig, I like to set the hook a little faster. There's one. Yeah, good one, good one, good one, good one, big 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 one. Ha ha, son! Woo! Woo! I got me one. Oh, oh. Nice big 7 or 8 pounder. That's a good one, son. The old jig fish. Nice, nice, beautiful bass. I'm gonna get them back in the water to be caught again another day. Son, woo, love it. Okay, now here's that cowboy again. I'm using a cowboy jig and just rigging it just up like I showed you before. I slide it up on the hook shank. 1 ounce jig, cowboy. That's the deal. Now we're making a long cast. A lot of people hop the jig, and that could work too, but I'm just kind of dragging it. I got one. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. I don't know how big, but pretty good. I don't think he's more than 5 or 6. I don't know. Maybe he is. It's hard to say. Hard to say. Okay, son. That's a good one. Oh, son! That's a good one there, boys. That's a good bass. Good bass. Nice bass. So I'm gonna get that scale. We're gonna weigh this one. And we'll see how much it weighs. 6.59. 6.59. Nice fish.